Welcome to the Science of Mindset for the Core Mindset module for Pivot Boss Masters. Let's go ahead and get started. There are no shortcuts to success. And I think this illustration right here, especially with the iceberg, I think that really represents a lot of what happens when you achieve success or when you're attempting to strive for success. And basically, when someone looks at someone's success or success in general, you see the superficial appearance of success. You know what success looks like now in that picture, and for some reason, we believe that person or that thing to always have that certain success. But we really never see all of the various things that happened beneath the surface that eventually led to that success. But this is really what it starts out with. It starts out with having a vision for yourself, right? You have to have a vision for where you think you're headed. If you can't see yourself somewhere, you can't get there. But we're going to talk about that in this presentation, how to set your vision on the correct path, and then how to work toward that vision so that you eventually arrive at success. But for me, really, once I had a vision for where I wanted to go, I had to have belief that I was going to attain those goals. But of course, you always have to have that persistence to push through everything, and eventually you persevere through all. You persevere through everything that life throws at you, basically, in order to reach that success. And really, this goes down to anything that you apply yourself in life, but really in trading. Because trading, the markets, yourself, everything, there's going to be a lot thrown at you. You have to persevere above it all, and you have to do things in a certain way. You have to create the right types of habits to help you achieve your goal, and you have to shed those habits that are keeping you from your goal. And really, it all comes down to what's your vision? Do you believe you're going to attain that vision? And then setting on the right path to doing all of these tasks in a right way so that you eventually persevere through all and reach that success. It goes back to, the analogy I've always used, which is a trader's path to success is kind of like a tree growing from a seed or a nut. A lot of the foundation, a lot of the work is being done beneath the surface for so long before anything comes through the surface of the ground. A tree doesn't just sprout up, 20 or 30 feet tall out of nowhere. At first, it has to build that foundation beneath the surface. And once that foundation is strong enough to support breaking through that ceiling, that's when you start to see the results. The same thing can be said for this iceberg. The same thing can be said for your results as a trader. You have to build that right foundation. You have to set on that certain path, and then you start to see the results down the line. Trading, unfortunately, is one of those things where you see the results much, much later down the line after you've put in a lot of experience, both good and bad, to eventually have to go about things in a certain way. So we're going to talk about the mindset of what it takes to be successful and how the right mindset is everything to success. Everything. Mindset, again, absolutely the most important component to success. The person that has mastered their mindset will undoubtedly become successful as a trader and in life. It is mindset that makes everything happen. And mindset is everything to trading, because mindset is really what takes you off of your goal or what helps you push through any challenges to reach that success. You have to be willing to have a dream and then be willing to risk everything to achieve that dream, but do things in a right way, because it really takes that dedication to come out on the other end as a trader. Again, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about trading in Masters, but it's up to you to put everything together with the proper mindset so that you can execute these techniques and these approaches and these concepts so that you can begin to benefit from those. What we're going to do is 3 sections here. Mindset, first of all, we need to understand why mindset is paramount to success. Then we're going to talk about using a science to approaching mindset to virtually guarantee success. And then we're going to talk about proactively working toward our visions in an efficient manner so that we make progress toward our goals. Carol Dweck, which is a world-renowned Stanford University psychologist, She basically talks about two types of mindsets, and this is what I've learned about in my psychology days back at the University of Texas, but a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. But the way I want you to look at this is from a winning trader and losing trader's perspective. A growth mindset can be attributed to a winning trader's perspective, and a fixed mindset can be a losing trader's perspective. So put yourself in these shoes and say, which one am I? And this fixed mindset versus growth mindset really helps you to think about those things from that standpoint so that you can correct these subtle nuances as you go along toward your vision or your goals for success. So number one, desire. Do you desire to look smart in every situation and prove yourself? Prove that you're smarter than everyone. Or do you have a growth mindset? Do you stretch yourself and take risks and learn? Bring on the challenges. I mean, if you have a desire to look right in every situation or to look smart, trading is going to be very difficult because you're not always going to be right. But that doesn't mean you're going to be a losing trader. That means you're managing risk in the right way. If you're someone that likes to be right in every situation, then you're going to be adding to losing trades. Adding to losing trades. You're going to be not adhering to your stops because you're right. This stock has to go up. I'm not going to use a stop. I have to prove I'm right. And that's how traders blow out accounts. Evaluation of situations. Will I look dumb? Will I look smart? Will I succeed or will I fail? Those types of things really hinder people because you're putting self-worth to things. You know, if I don't get this trade right, then I'm a failure and I look dumb in front of everybody, right? But instead, you have to be able to overcome these challenges, and instead of asking, will I fail or look dumb or smart, will this allow me to grow? Will this, whatever I'm going through right now, allow me to grow into a better person or a better trader? If the answer is yes, you got to do it. And you got to know that there's no repercussions about looking dumb or failing. Those are only opportunities for you to correct things that went wrong so that you can continue to improve. Every failure is not seen as a failure by true professionals. It's seen as an opportunity to grow and to bring some type of lesson from that failure. But you also have to understand that a losing trade is not a failure. And you do not look dumb if you have a losing trade. A losing trade is merely you following your game plan and identifying a risk and accepting that risk, and that's done, and moving on to the next one. As a matter of fact, taking a losing trade is actually a success because you successfully implemented your plan for risk management. Now, effort, it's all about effort. You want to have a growth mindset, you have to put in the work, you know, and that's the other thing. You can't just hope and dream for great success and results. You have to put in the work. You have to be willing to learn every single day. If you're not willing to put in the work, trading is going to be very, very difficult for you. Now, furthering the concept here, growth mindset, the intelligence can be developed. Basically, what this does is it's saying a growth mindset is always someone that's willing to learn, absorb information. Remember, this is trading, and I think trading, more so than any other profession out there, relies on technology more and more and more, and it's only going to lead the technology generation as we go forward. Right now, we've only had a good 10 or 15 years of real technology with trading, but think about what it's going to be like 10 years from now, 20 years from now as a trader. You're really going to have to continue to step your game up in terms of absorbing information and learning these new technologies. But the good news is the core foundations of trading will never go away. It's just about embracing new technologies to see the auction better. But it's all about having that growth mindset so that you can continue to absorb information in the right way, learn from your criticism, and continue to push on a path toward mastery. Now here's where it gets fun. Because according to Wallace Wattles, there is a science to mindset which anyone can use to bring success into their lives. Wallace Wattles writes, success in life is becoming what you want to be. You can get everything you want by beginning in your present business and in your present location to do things in a certain way, which causes success. Basically, this little doodle here on a napkin, you can set your mind, wherever you want. You can set it to struggle, or you can set your mind to success. It's up to you. And if you decide to do that, consciously set your mind to success and do things a certain way, it is guaranteed that you will become successful, according to Wallace Wattles. And I'll explain why. Basically, Wallace Wattles wrote a book over 100 years ago called The Science of Getting Rich. In this highly coveted text, he explains the scientific process for assuring wealth and success. And he writes, "The ownership of money and property comes as a result of doing things in a certain way. Those who do things in this certain way, whether on purpose or accidentally, get rich. Those who do not do things in this certain way, no matter how hard they work or how able they are, remain poor. It is a natural law that like causes always produce like effects. Therefore, any man or woman who learns to do things in this certain way will infallibly get rich." This is all from The Science of Getting Rich. The Science of Getting Rich, it is required reading for master's traders. You have to read this book. What I'm doing in this presentation is I'm summing up the book as I see it to get you on a quick path toward utilizing those principles. So basically, what's the secret to everything? Well, Wallace Wattles says that man can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon formless substance can cause that thing he thinks about to be created. In essence, what Wattles is saying is that our predominant thoughts create our current and future reality. And this is the same type of concept that The Secret was written on, or based off of, written by Rhonda Byrne. Basically, she writes that everything that's coming into your life, you are attracting into your life, and it's attracted to you by virtue of the images you're holding in your mind. It's what you're thinking. Whatever is going on in your mind, you are attracting to you. Basically, it's the universal law of attraction, which states that like attracts like. So if our predominant thoughts are of happiness and prosperity, we will attract those things. Our thoughts are like magnets, and our strongest thoughts will attract those things into our life. Each one of us is like a magnet or a transmission tower, and the universe will tune to our transmission. Are we putting out positive thoughts or negative thoughts? And it's going to give us what we're thinking. That's basically what this approach is saying. Sounds out there, but I will say this. I've seen it work. I've been the beneficiary of it working. I've seen this work for others, whether they did it on accident or whether they did it on purpose. So if like attracts like, how does this all tie into trading? If I say I always get stopped out to the tick and then price turns around and hits my target, you should notice how often it happens, especially as you continue to say it, right? Other times you could say, man, I always miss my entry by a little bit and then it goes off and hits my target. You're making it real by saying it over and over. That's your predominant thought, so it comes to you. Now again, I know it sounds out there, but think about it. How many times have you, out of nowhere, just started thinking about a song you haven't heard in 10 years, and you start singing it in your head? How long does it take before you hear that song on the radio? Not long. I mean, within a couple of days, maybe that day. I've done it over and over again because we brought it to us. We attracted it to us with our thoughts of that song, singing it in our minds or singing it out loud over and over. Boom, there it is on the radio. And you say, wow, I haven't heard that song in 5 years. And I was just singing it today. How weird. So what I want you to think is, again, use the growth mindset. Whether you agree with what we're about to talk about or not, it doesn't hurt to try it. Remember, with a growth mindset, you accept different things. You absorb different types of information. Use what's useful and discard what's not. It's free. It's free to use this approach right here because I've used this approach time and time again throughout my life to create my reality. I've done it. My mother taught me these concepts when I was a boy and throughout my life. And it's how I've been able to do certain things just by thinking of it or wanting it so badly and then working toward making them happen. Because I believed they would happen if I just put in the work. So let's talk about this some more. There are 3 simple steps to using this science of mindset. Step 1, you have to form a clear mental vision of your wants and dreams without limits. Basically, you have to have a vision for yourself. What type of trader ultimately do you want to be? How successful do you want to be? Now, I put in there without limits. You have to form this mental vision without limits. Because when you put a limit on your dream, you're telling yourself you cannot achieve those things and you're capping your success. So it has to be without limits. And we'll talk about this some more. Step 2, work purposefully toward your vision with steadfast faith and gratitude. Remember, you have to believe that what you are dreaming will come true. If you do not believe, you will not receive. You must believe that trading success will come to you. You must believe it full-heartedly. You must believe that your vision will come true. You have to believe, because if you don't believe, it will not come. And you have to be grateful. You have to be grateful in your current circumstance. You have to be grateful and happy for what you currently have and your current trading situation, because gratitude is the seed that sparks more good around you. If you are not happy because of your current trading situation, it's very difficult to push beyond that, because what you're doing is creating a negative environment around your trading. Remember, we're supposed to be radiating a positive environment around ourselves. So gratitude does that. It kind of puts a bubble of positivity around you. If you're grateful, it breeds more good. Think about it for a second. If you have a trading account and you're down, I don't know, 10% on the month, and you're very unhappy with yourself, it just breeds more negativity. Instead, you could be grateful. You know what? I'm grateful that I even have a trading account to trade right now, that I even have the opportunity to potentially liberate myself from my job so that I can continue to, make money as a trader. So it's certain things, just looking at them in a different way so that, you create that bubble of positivity around you as you push forward toward your vision. Step 3, live in the present as if you've already achieved your vision. Basically, all that's saying is be happy. Feel successful because you are a successful trader. Trade as a successful trader would trade right now. And we're going to talk about this big time here coming up. So step 1, form a clear mental vision of your wants and dreams without limits, right? This is the visualization part. And again, remember, man is a thinking center and can originate thought. All the forms that man fashions with his hands must first exist in his thought. He cannot shape a thing until he has thought that thing, from the Science of Getting Rich. Basically, visualization has been used for thousands of years to turn our thoughts into reality. Our present reality is a result of our predominant thoughts. If our predominant thoughts are filled with dreams of success and prosperity, those things will be drawn to us. It's the universal law of attraction. Just think about it for a moment again. Do you think our ancestors 1,000 years ago could visualize airplanes in the air or spaceships going to the moon? No. That didn't mean that we couldn't make them. We had to first be able to think about them. And that's where the Wright brothers came along, and people like Leonardo da Vinci early on, who had plans for a helicopter, from the 1500s. You have to be able to think those things, and then from there, you work toward that goal, believing that you'll attain it, and eventually the outcome is, wow, we just put a plane in the air, or wow, we just put this spaceship on the moon. We never thought that was possible. That's why we never did it. But once we thought it was possible, we did it. That's the whole point of this whole thing. Form a mental vision of what you want without limits, because when you put limits on yourself, you're capping your success. Visualize every detail and fixate. This is super important and super fun. Wallace Wattles writes, "You must form a clear and definite mental picture of what you want. You cannot transmit an idea unless you have it yourself. The more clear and definite you make your picture then, and the more you dwell upon it, bringing out all of its delightful details, the stronger your desire will be. And the stronger your desire, the easier it will be to hold your mind fixed upon the picture of what you want." Basically, what they're saying is this is how you make your dreams come true. Through that mental picture of how clear can you make that mental picture? How clear can you make those details? Because what you're doing is you're creating your future in your mind. I couldn't write my book, Secrets of a Pivot Boss, until I had fully mapped out what I was going to do, how it was going to look, the whole goal behind it, what everything was. It just wasn't going to happen. But as I dwelled upon how I wanted it to look and feel, I just kept fixating on every detail of the book, from the types of headings, from the types of charts, to the types of, captions and the various things of how I wanted it to look for my audience, that eventually that vision just transpired because I was working toward that goal. I wouldn't have been able to write that book if I didn't have that vision down to every detail. But it's that visualization. That's the key. Can you visualize yourself doing that thing? Because if you can visualize yourself doing anything, it sets the wheels on a path toward accomplishing that thing. It's that visualization that sets the wheels in motion to reach that success. So you could practice visualization. And Wallace Wattles writes, "It should be the work of your leisure hours to use your imagination on the details of your vision and to contemplate them until they are firmly fixed upon memory. If you wish speedy results, then practically spend all of your time in this practice." This is super important because this was a detail that after the Olympics, where Michael Phelps jumped into the waters, I believe it was Beijing 2008 Olympics, he jumps into the waters for the gold medal match. And as soon as he hits the water, his goggles begin to fill with water. And he was basically blind the rest of the race from the moment he hit the water. Not only did he win gold, he broke the world record. Blind, with water filled in his goggles. How? They asked him afterwards, how? He said, "I had already practiced it in my visualizations." And what Michael Phelps would do is, before he would go to sleep at night, he would visualize his races. He would visualize everything. He would close his eyes and he would visualize himself standing on the springboard, flapping his arms back and forth, shaking his neck, doing everything down to the little, wiggling of his fingers and feet or whatever, stretching. Every single detail, he would just see it as if he was doing it for real. And then he would hear the gun and jump into the water, and he would practice every stroke in his head. Every stroke. Every single time he would win gold in his visualization. The other thing is, he would not just practice perfect gold medal matches, he would practice what would happen if scenarios. One of those scenarios was, what would happen if water went into my goggles? What would I do? At this moment, he would then begin counting his strokes. He would know exactly how many strokes it was to the wall and exactly how he needed to turn, and he would then begin counting his strokes the other way. And that's the exact approach he used in his visualization. That's the exact approach he used at the Olympics when he won gold and broke the world record, because he had already known exactly what to do. Do you see how this translates to trading? Because you can do this exact same approach to trading. As a matter of fact, I do it. I traded the low price, the low tick in NQ at 34.05, and I had already practiced that the night before by using this Michael Phelps visualization technique. I had already practiced what it would look like if price came down into that price. How would I look? How would I go about telling my team about the level? how would I go about entering the trade, how I would scale, and it turned out to be one of my best trades of the last couple of weeks. Low ticked it and went up 75 points and knocked it out. All because of visualization. Now, when you visualize things at the end of the night like this, those visualizations continue to develop in your sleep. And then when Michael Phelps would wake up the next morning, he would then do the same visualization technique. So basically, he's just manifesting this visualization from the time he goes to sleep until the time he wakes up. And that's how he ends and begins his day. These are the same types of techniques that you can use. But you have to be able to visualize without limits, whether you're visualizing the upcoming trade or if you're visualizing yourself as, what your future holds as a trader. Remember, the clearer the details, the more powerful the mental transmission. And you can use this visualization for anything you want, no matter how big or small, no matter if it's trading related or not. As a matter of fact, I practice every once in a while on parking space visualization. There's a parking spot that I like to get when I drop my daughter off to dance practice. And before I take her to dance practice, I start visualizing that spot being there when I get in and how I'm just going to roll right in. You'll be surprised at how often I get that spot, regardless of how many dance parents are there with their kids coming in and out of that parking lot. So it doesn't have to be just the big things that you can visualize. It can be anything. So practice visualization throughout the day, whether you're building your future or just prepping for an upcoming trade. It's this visualization that helps you see yourself succeeding, helps see yourself doing things, rather than not seeing yourself doing anything. Because remember, if you can't see yourself doing something or reaching a goal or going to some place 5 or 10 years from now, you're most likely not going to get there. So you have to be able to practice that. And in doing so, I want you to create your trader superhero. Your trader superhero. Because before you can become the trader you want to be, you must first create your vision of the trader you want to be, and then begin emulating the future you in the present. In essence, you must do the things that future you would do today, and avoid doing those things that keep you from your vision. So, give the future you a trader superhero name. Mine is Pivot Boss. I created Pivot Boss to help me become the trader that I wanted to be years ago. As a matter of fact, nobody even knew me as Pivot Boss until I published my book. But I had already been creating that Pivot Boss mentality years and years before that book ever came out or ever was even being thought about. I was creating that trader that I wanted to be eventually in my head. When I trade as Pivot Boss, the superhero trader. And Pivot Boss always executes his bias according to his trading plan, and he does so with confidence. I trade as Pivot Boss would trade. And I notice when I do not do well in the market, it's because I'm not trading as Pivot Boss. So I have to stand back, collect myself, and do as Pivot Boss would do. See the market, read the auction, use sound trade management techniques. Do not chase price. Wait for price to come to me. Do those things that your superhero trader would do and begin doing them today. Basically, you have to be able to see the future you, and then you have to emulate that future you. Because as you're doing it, you are slowly but steadily becoming that future you. That's the goal. He must form a clear mental picture of the things he wants and do with faith and purpose all that can be done each day, doing each separate thing in an efficient manner. Basically, you have to form your mental picture of the elite trader that you want to become and then begin emulating your vision immediately. Continue on this path with unwavering belief that you will fulfill your ultimate vision. That's all you have to do. How simple is that? You just have to say, what type of trader do you want to become? And then begin emulating that trader immediately. If the future you scales out of trades, begin scaling out of trades right now. If the future you trades off a dome, begin trading off a dome right now. If the future you begins using a footprint chart, begin using a footprint chart right now. What does future you look like? Map it out and then start doing it today. That's all this is. Here's another list. If future you catalogs every trade in a daily trade journal, then begin journaling now. If future you always executes trades according to plan, stick to your plan now. If future you exercises during the lunchtime doldrums, begin exercising now. If future you meditates every morning before trading, then begin meditating now. The goal is, what do you look like as a successful trader in the future? And just start doing those things now. You don't have to do everything at once. You don't want to shock yourself. You can try, and everyone's going to have different results right out of the gate. But the goal is, just start doing those things now. If you don't do those things now, you will not become what you want to become. But do those things knowing that in doing so right now, you will become ultimately what you set out to become. You have to have that faith. Act now. There is never any time but now, and there will never be any time but now. If you are ever to begin to make ready for the reception of what you want, you must begin now. And that is the whole point about emulating the trader that you want to become now. This is one of my favorite quotes. All we have is right now. Tomorrow is not promised, and yesterday is gone. You have to continue to work now to get to where you want to. The longer you wait, the longer it is until you reach that goal. Now, we have our vision. We have our trader superhero. Step 2 is now working purposefully toward that vision with steadfast faith and gratitude. And I map these out in 3 different mini sections: action, faith, and gratitude. Work purposefully toward your vision. That's action. With steadfast faith, that's faith, and gratitude is gratitude. So once you've created that vision, it's now time to proactively work toward that vision. You have action, faith, and gratitude, and that is what separates the dreamers from the achievers. Because you might think of yourself, hey, lots of people dream or have visions for what they want to be. But not everyone gets it. Everyone says, I want to be a famous singer one day, or I want to be a famous actor one day, or I want to have that supermodel girlfriend one day. But how many people truly believe they will attain that? Yeah, I would love to be this or that, but if they don't believe they will really get there, then they're not going to do the work required to get there. So they never get there. It's almost like a circular argument here, You have to not only have a vision, but you have to work toward that vision. And you have to do so with faith and gratitude. So action, you must proactively make progress toward your vision. Faith, you must fully believe that you will attain that vision. And gratitude, you must be grateful in your current circumstance as you work toward your vision. So action, this is a quick 5 steps to progress that I use for myself. It's not anything that's really uncommon to anything, because this is all kind of the same approaches that you'll see in business books in any university. But basically, this was always my approach, is have a vision first. Have a vision for what you want to do. Then create a plan for how you're going to attain that vision. And from that plan, begin to set goals for how you're going to accomplish that vision. Then you implement your plan of attack and start working toward those goals. And after a certain amount of time, you measure those results, and then you fine-tune your vision and continue on in that path. It's the same circle, the same progress wheel that just takes you round and round until you reach your success point. You reach your ultimate vision. Ultimately, you could staircase up in your goals and your visions. Have smaller visions that lead to bigger visions. But basically the goal is understand where you want to be, set a plan in action, put some goals to use, and start implementing those as you go forward in your plan, and always update that vision as you continue to grow. Um, some of you may remember Matthew McConaughey's Oscar speech recently, where he says, you know, my hero is basically me 10 years from now, you know, because I'm always reaching for higher and higher goals and trying to reach the me that I want to be. But every time I get to that point, you know, my goal for myself goes another 10 years out, and I'm always chasing what I want to be. So ultimately, a truly great man never realizes their full potential, because you're always pushing those goals and visions higher and higher and higher and achieving more and more and more. But it all starts with proactively working toward that vision, because if you just make a vision and then sit on the couch and watch DIY Network, it's not gonna happen, because that is the dreamer. You have to be an achiever, which puts action, faith, and gratitude to work in order to make that vision a reality. Faith. You must fully believe that you will attain your vision. Goals, dreams, visions, they're all fulfilled by those who wholeheartedly believe with steadfast faith that they will eventually attain those goals, dreams, or visions. And this is the thing that can be difficult. Wallace Wattles writes, to think health when surrounded by appearances of disease, or to think riches when in the midst of appearances of poverty, requires power. But he who acquires this power becomes a mastermind. He can conquer fate. He can have whatever he wants. And this is extremely powerful, because this is essentially what every single trader needs to have. A trader needs to have faith that they are going to be successful, that they will have a profitable day today, because they are confident in their skills. They have to, even in the face of a string of losers, know that they are a winning trader. You cannot focus on the negative. You have to focus on the positive, even in negative outcomes. To think riches when in the midst of appearances of poverty requires power. To think you are a consistently profitable trader when you've had a string of losers requires power. But he who acquires this power becomes a master trader. You see how this whole course, that's why the science of getting rich is so important to me, because if you just switch a couple of these words out, you can see how it applies to trading perfectly. And it's all about just believing that you're going to ultimately achieve your vision, because you are going about things in the right way, with action, faith, and gratitude. Gratitude. You must be grateful in your current circumstance. There is a law of gratitude, and it is absolutely necessary that you should observe the law if you are able to get the results you seek. The grateful mind is constantly fixed upon the best, therefore it tends to become the best. It takes the form or character of the best and will receive the best. To permit your mind to dwell upon the inferior is to become inferior and to surround yourself with inferior things. So it all goes back to gratitude. You have to be happy in your current circumstance. You have to be grateful in your current circumstance, because that gratitude is basically what helps you achieve your goal. It helps create that bubble of positivity around you. Because if you permit your mind to dwell upon the inferior, you're going to surround yourself with inferior things. If you're dwelling on the negative trades or the losing trades, you're going to continue to receive those losing trades. If instead you are grateful that you used your stop losses and you believe that those winning trades are right around the corner, if you keep employing your trade plan, you will get yourself out of that funk. You have to dwell upon the positives, even in the face of those negatives. So it's just a mindset thing, because remember, it says here, the grateful mind is constantly fixed upon the best. Therefore, it tends to become the best. It takes the form or character of the best and will receive the best. receive the best because we are transmitting. We are transmission towers, and if we are grateful, we will receive the best. If we're negative and ungrateful, we do not receive the best. We receive what we are fixated on. So it's very, very important. As a matter of fact, there's another quote in here that Waddles writes about, and it basically, in summation, it says that when you are dealing with hardship, cultivate gratitude, because that's what's going to get you out of things. And I know this firsthand. I know this firsthand because even in the face of very, very tough situations that can happen in your life, if you're grateful at that moment and know that others always have it worse, so you're grateful for your current circumstance, even if it is very, very bad, I know how that gratitude can spark into something great. I've been very happy to have received that, especially after what happened with my daughter last fall. Again, I'm not going to teach things that I don't believe in. I've never done that. I've used all of this information that I'm teaching you here tonight for myself in trading, for myself personally. I've helped others. I've seen firsthand how this can affect people in positive and negative ways, whether they did it on purpose or by accident. This is powerful, powerful stuff. Lastly, step 3, the power of positive mindset. Live in the present as if you've already achieved your vision. Remember, since the law of attraction states that you will receive what you transmit, you must begin to transmit feelings of happiness and success now, which are the feelings that you will also feel once you've achieved your ultimate goals. Get it? Do not wait for a change of environment. Before you act, get a change of environment just by action. You can so act upon the environment in which you are now as to cause yourself to be transferred to a better environment. I've done it. We all have, whether we knew it or not. You just have to recreate your mindset when you were doing it, because that is the proper mindset that helps you do it time and time again. And now that you're cognizant of this, you can do it with greater control. The power of positive mindset: behind your clear vision must be the purpose to realize it, to bring it out in tangible expression. And behind this purpose must be an invincible and unwavering faith that the thing is already yours, that it is at hand, and you have only to take possession of it. That's exactly what you need. You need to understand that you will receive what you want as long as you put in the work required and have the right mindset. You cannot retain a true and clear vision of wealth if you are constantly turning your attention to opposing pictures, whether they be external or imaginary. Guard your speech. Never speak of yourself, your affairs, or anything else in a discouraged or discouraging way. Again, if you're talking about your trading in a very poor way, I've had a horrible week. I had a bad string of this. I've been stopped out to the tick a million times. I messed up this entry. I accidentally triggered a loser. You know, if you're saying all of those things, you continue to manifest those things. So that's why it's important here. Remember, it's important. What we put out is what we get back. So you have to step back from those situations, guard yourself, guard your speech, and consciously shift your mindset to a different frequency so that you can pull yourself out of that funk. Basically, mindset is paramount to success in any discipline for any person on earth, whether you're a baby all the way up to any age. You can create positive habits for mindset that help put you on a path to success. That growth mindset, study that chart, because that growth mindset is really what it takes for anybody to become successful in what they do, especially in trading, because those negative approaches, those closed-minded or fixed mindsets, those do not do well for traders. 100% of the time, you're going to blow out accounts. I've seen it. I've been there. I've done that. I've seen this thing happen. You have to lend yourself to a way of thinking that promotes success. And remember, there's a science to success according to Wallace Wattles. I've used it in my own trading, I've used it in my own life, and I've got the 3 steps here for you. Number 1, form a clear mental vision of your wants and dreams without limits. Step 2, work purposefully toward your vision with steadfast faith and gratitude. And step 3, live in the present as if you've already achieved your vision. What does the superhero you look like 5 years from now? Begin emulating that now, because that is what's going to put you on a path toward reaching that goal. Act now. There is never any time but now, and there will never be any time but now. If you are ever to begin to make ready for the reception of what you want, you must begin now. This is the science of mindset. And again, it's free to try. Just begin to exercise this approach, because if you do, I guarantee it will be single-handedly the most important thing you do for your trading and for your life. And that does it for the science of mindset, for the core mindset module for Pivot Boss Masters.